Dead Zone. Entry 3. August 13th, 2023. Morning. The soft light of dawn filtered through the curtains, casting a warm glow across the living room. I blinked awake, the remnants of the previous night's festivities still swirling in my mind. A sense of comfort enveloped me, the familiarity of my friends nearby a soothing balm for my tired soul. I turned my head and spotted Jamal sprawled out on the couch, his mouth slightly open, snoring lightly. "Hey, sleepyhead," I called, my voice hoarse. He stirred, blinking groggily before pushing himself up. "What time is it?" he muttered, running a hand through his messy hair. "Looks like it's just past 8, I replied, stretching my arms above my head. "I think Mia's still asleep. I'll go wake her up." I made my way to the guest room where Mia had crashed after the party. I knocked softly on the door. "Mia, it's time to wake up." After a moment, the door creaked open, and she peeked out, her hair a wild mess. "Ugh, do we really have to get up?" "I was in the middle of the best dream," she said, yawning. "Cereal awaits," I teased, and she groaned but eventually stepped out, rubbing her eyes. We shuffled into the kitchen, where Jamal had already made himself comfortable at the table, pulling out a box of cereal. "What's the plan today?" he asked, pouring himself a hefty bowl. "Classes for me, and I think you're working today, right?" I replied, grabbing a bowl and following suit with the cereal. "Yeah, the usual shift at the store," he said, munching on his breakfast. "But I wanted to ask you about last night." I paused mid-bite, the memory of the shadowy figure creeping back into my mind. "What about it?" Jamal looked serious now, his brow furrowing. "When I was walking to the store, I met this guy. He was different. Tattered clothes, stumbling around. I thought he was just an old homeless guy at first, but I pushed him aside and he just kept following me." My heart raced. "Wait, you saw him too? The same guy from last night?" "Yeah, I thought maybe I was just imagining things, but it felt real. He was reaching out like he wanted something and I just shoved him away." Jamal shook his head, frustration evident in his voice. "I didn't think anything of it until I got back. What if something's seriously wrong out there?" Mia, pouring herself a bowl of cereal, paused mid-scoop. "What do you mean? You think he was dangerous?" "I don't know." Jamal sighed, running a hand over his face. "But it was creepy. I felt like I was being followed." I exchanged glances with Mia, who looked equally concerned. "Maybe we should tell someone about it," she suggested. "You know, just in case. It's not normal for someone to be wandering around like that." "Yeah, but who would we even tell?" Jamal replied, frustration creeping back into his voice. "We're just a couple of college kids. It's not like anyone would take us seriously." We finished our breakfast in a contemplative silence, the mood shifting from lighthearted to tense. It was strange how quickly things could change, how a fun night could dissolve into unease. After breakfast, we began to get ready for the day. Jamal and I quickly got dressed, while Mia took her time in the bathroom, preparing for her classes. I felt the weight of the previous night's events hang over us like a shroud. "Hey, let's just keep an eye out, okay?" I suggested, trying to lighten the mood. "If we see anyone suspicious, we'll just call campus security or something." "Sure," Jamal replied, though his expression was still clouded. "I'll be on the lookout." We eventually gathered our things and stepped outside, the sun shining brightly in the sky. The world felt normal again, as if the shadows of the night had vanished with the dawn. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still lurking just out of sight. As we walked to our respective classes, I glanced over my shoulder occasionally, half expecting to see that same figure from last night. But the streets were quiet, and the only sounds were the chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze. After we parted ways, I found myself in my first class, struggling to concentrate. My mind kept drifting back to the night before, to the figure in the woods, to Jamal's encounter. I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was brewing outside was far from over. As the hours passed, the unease only grew. I couldn't help but wonder what would happen if we saw that figure again. If it had been after Jamal, what would it want from us? When class finally ended, I felt a sense of relief mixed with anxiety. I needed to talk to Jamal and Mia to figure out what to do next. But as I made my way to the student union, the feeling of dread settled heavily in my chest, tightening its grip. Something was out there, and it was only a matter of time before it came back for us. To be continued.